You, as you know yourself, are not the final term of your being. And you must die to that one way or another, in giving of yourself to something or in being annihilated, actually, physically, to return, you might say, or to recognize. Life is always on the edge of death, always. And one should lack fear and have the courage of life. That's the principal initiation of all of the heroic stories.
What's the central story? Do you have a story that's central to this?
The Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
As with all myths, the best way to understand them is to see the story as our own. Granted, I am no knight, and unless Sir Elton John or Ian are watching, then I'm pretty sure neither are you. We do not live in a world of spells and giants. There are no girdles that protect you from all harm, which really would have come in handy for me when I had 2 kidney stones in a year. But, we are, like Gawain, in a process of becoming, living with dreams and aspirations while struggling to bring them into fruition. As Campbell put it, we are not in the final term of our being. And in order to grow, we must confront our limitations and our temptations, and we must face death, literal and metaphorical, in order to fully see what we are made of and what we hold most dear. To put it another way, we cannot know what we believe or what we value until we are asked to give it up. With this in mind, the best way to understand David Lowery's latest film, The Green Knight, is to ask what Gawain wants, and also what will happen if he cannot lay it down in sacrifice. The story begins not with a knight of valor, a man of duty and honor going about his work, but instead with a boy who lives at home, hungover and lying supine on the ground, quite literally saying,
"I'm not ready yet."
At a Christmas feast, Gawain is invited by his uncle, the legendary King Arthur, to sit at his right hand. When asked by Arthur to tell me a tale of yourself so that I might know thee, Gawain replies, "I have none to tell." He is surrounded by mythic men, knights of legend and renown. You can see young Gawain wants the same status. He longs for a life worthy of songs and poems. And right on cue, a green knight mysteriously enters the hall, initiating young Gawain on a call to adventure. The earthy knight's challenge is reciprocal. In whatever way you strike the knight must, in turn, be endured by you in a year's time. Eager to prove himself worthy, Gawain volunteers to play the game. It's important to note that the Green Knight does not say one must cut off his head, but he makes such a lethal and impressive blow easy by kneeling and offering his neck. Here is Gawain's shortcut to fame, the easy path to legend. But, as we soon learn, the easy path always comes with a price. The lust for legend, the cyclical nature of life, and the temptation to take the easiest path are all themes and challenges that will follow Gawain on his quest to reunite with the Green Knight. Life and myth are 2 mirrors pointing at each other. In myths, a hero begins at home, longing for something. She is called to an adventure. He faces many obstacles and unfamiliar situations. They soon find what they are longing for, often at a heavy price. This hero then returns home a changed person. And does not life follow the same pattern? Birth, trial, death, resurrection? The seasons spin like a wheel, always beginning and ending in the same climates. Our fears and celebrations come and go. And finally, from the earth we come, and to the earth we return again. Gawain is surrounded by circles. He longs for a seat at the round table, but he cannot take the place until he honors his part of the bargain. And it's here, in the moments in between this reunion, that we learn Gawain's need. For he revels in the portrait posing and delights in the reputation and song. That is what he wants, power, fame, and legend. But what he needs, as Essel points out, is goodness. He needs responsibility. And not just him, Camelot too. King Arthur and his queen look sick. They have everything, but look starved. He has brought peace, but by means of the sword. Notice the battlefield where King Arthur was reported to have slain 960 men himself? Didn't look very great, did it? And so it is not surprising that this game, devised by Gawain's mother, should embody what Camelot and her son are lacking. What you take must be returned. Life is not life without death, and greatness is merely oppression without goodness. Morgan Le Fay's challenge is one that forces her son to honor a commitment, to see that you cannot take life in service of greatness if you are not also willing to offer your own life. The Green Knight, then, is the embodiment of that contradiction. He is both life and death. As Alicia Vikander's The Lady, her second role in the film, explains,
green is what is left when ardor fades, when passion dies, when we die too.
the Green Knight is a symbol of life found in death. Moss and grass will cover us and continue to grow long after we are gone. Perhaps this is what the panoramic shot of Gawain turning into a skeleton is meant to convey. It's a humbling fact, one we must all face head on. As a stand-in for nature, the Green Knight reminds us that we can do what we want with this world. We can cut him down and build whatever legend we want. But we must face the axe in return. Surrendering to this fact no doubt changes how we live. There is another representation of the give and take nature of this existence. At the castle where Gawain finds a chance to rest before the appointment, Joel Edgerton's The Lord offers a similar, if less flashy, game. The Lord will give Gawain whatever he finds on his hunt if Gawain gives the Lord whatever he obtained while in the castle. Again, another circle, another act of reciprocity that rests on Gawain's honor. While the Lord hunts for wild game, Gawain is busy being hunted by the lady. And it's no coincidence she looks just like his lover back home, Essel. This is clearly another test of his goodness. But Gawain, like in every other situation thus far, is only focused on what he can have. He can only see the spoils of this moment. And so he gives in to this moment of passion. "You are no knight," she tells him. Later, when it's time for the Lord and Gawain to exchange their gains, the boy betrays the Lord with a kiss. For we all know Gawain obtained far more than that. He also keeps the protective girdle from the Lord of the house. Gawain is unable to yield anything, it seems, whether that be fame, glory, sex, money, or life itself. If it's not already clear, Gawain has been caught in a battle between glory and goodness. He cannot see past his own myopic thirst for immediate pleasure. Like many of us, he does not yet understand life because he has no understanding of death. For what is glory or lust in the face of ultimate death? Gawain's final test is like all the others. Can he give up greatness for goodness' sake? Many critics have noted how the climactic scene parallels the last temptation of Christ. In Scorsese's film, Jesus is tempted while on the cross with the prospect of having a normal life. A young girl who claims to be a guardian angel leads him off from the top of Golgotha and gives him the chance to wed Mary and raise a family. He does not become the Messiah, nor does he save mankind. His disciples continue to preach his resurrection, even though it's a lie because it's what the world needs to hear. On his deathbed, he discovers this little girl is in fact Satan, and this life is his last temptation. Jesus decides his mission on the cross is more important than his dream for a simple human life, and he climbs back onto the cross where he finally becomes the Messiah. While, yes, the structure of this vision of an alternate life is similar to what we find in The Green Knight, the meaning is in fact inverted. Christ is tempted away from legend and destiny by the prospect of a normal good life. Gawain is tempted instead with the vision of a life lived for greatness and destiny. Also, I should note their meaning of legend and greatness are vastly different in the films. Gawain's temptation is more analogous to Christ's last temptation in the wilderness, where Satan offers him all the kingdoms of the world. So, in a way, Gawain is a Christ figure, an archetype. But there's also a critique of Christianity here in this movie, because in medieval times, Christianity was more a symbol of empire and law than a life lived in service to a poor, homeless preacher. Christian rulers sought to spread their message through the sword. They dominated the land rather than take care of it. And so Arthur is juxtaposed with his sister's pagan magic and her respect for the earth, as symbolized in The Green Knight. Christianity, it seems, fell prey to the temptation their figurehead avoided. In a wordless and beautifully edited montage, Gawain sees what his life would be like if he held too tightly to life and the easy path, the path of power and glory, symbolized by the girdle. He sees that this is not a life of valor or honor. Instead, his selfishness only destroys all his relationships. He gets everything he wants, but has no heart to enjoy it. And finally, he sees that death comes for him anyway. All cultures have told stories and enacted rituals that called for their young to be initiated into adulthood by encountering their own death. This is no different. We cannot avoid death, but we can choose how we face it. When Gawain takes off the girdle, he is acknowledging in that moment how futile it is to hold on to the lusts of life. He is not content to die a selfish and greedy man. As Lowry himself puts it, I really try to embrace the goodness of death. I wanted the end of this film to be a happy ending. Maybe Sir Gawain gets his head off 2 seconds after the film cuts to black, or maybe he lives a long life and dies of old age as King Arthur did. But regardless, he will come to an end. He will die one day. What's important is that he's arrived at this place where he can face the inevitability with goodness in his heart. That is how I try to approach the world. The Green Knight, if anything else, is about how to live life in light of the inevitable. We all have our Green Knights. We all face death. What we can take from this world must one day be returned. Life is reciprocal. It is foolish to think we can live at home all our lives and chase whatever fancies us. It is tempting to work for some great destiny, but the only true and sure fate is death. The only thing we can control is the posture of our hearts as we kneel before the axe. Does Gawain live in those final moments? Does he give up any and all power and live a simple, good life? Is he able to still get the throne and retain his soul? Did he just die? These questions are the very point of the ending, I believe. By cutting to black, Lowry forces us to confront the same questions as Gawain. Life has no simple answers. And remember, myths aren't what happened, they are what happen. Myths are our stories. So when Gawain offers his life, seemingly giving up on power and legend, unable to know what will happen, we are forced to ask if we can do the same. The tension is unresolved in this myth because it's unresolved in this life as well. We cannot know our lives until we are willing to lose them. So, with that in mind, there's only one thing left to say.
Off with your head.